Hello, dear viewers. It's a great pleasure for me that we meet again, once again, during this international discussion, initiated by volunteers from the Creative Society project. We are here to voice again the truth to you, our dear viewers. And why again? Because on the 7th of May, an unprecedented event, an international forum, Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Live, took place. It was streamed on thousands of platforms and simultaneously translated in 100 languages. Difficult truth has been raised, as well as a great solution we can implement together.
Today, we as humanity have reached such a level of development when we stand in front of the choice to leave everything as it is in the consumer format of society, which is obviously a dead end for us, or to make an evolutionary leap and build a world based on truth, humanness, and true values, the world where every person can live in prosperity and with dignity, where life of a human is the highest value. And this world opens for us tremendous opportunities and perspectives. So where every person lives as a human. And today, this choice defines a future for millions of people, and conference, which took place on May 7th, is giving us opportunity to make this choice. And today, we're glad to discuss more with our guests. I'm happy to introduce Namubiru Barbara, human rights defender from Uganda. Greetings.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be joining the Creative Society International discussion once again. Greeting to all our dear viewers. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. And also, I would like to introduce Stanislaw Walter, educational assistant from Germany.
Thank you. It's also a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. And I just would like to start from knowing your impression after watching the forum. Which topics touched you the most at this event? Barbara, could you please share your impression?
Thank you so much. I watched the Global Crisis Conference, and I was actually privileged to air it on my social media platforms. Twitter, basically, I aired the first part and the second part, and it was really overwhelming, the kind of information I saw and learned that I never knew. But what really touched me the most, being a human rights defender, was the discussion about hunger in the 21st century and who is benefiting from war and conflict globally and particularly in Africa, where I come from. So for me, those were very, very touching topics. And there was another one about rescuing a global rescue platform for environment catalysts, where we would have a unified rescue team and early warnings about climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Namubiru. It's indeed a great forum where so much information has been raised, and you say that you've learned something, even though as an activist there is a lot on these topics that you may know, but there was so much information that really everybody can learn from it on the situation in which we are, and even more on the solution that we have in front of us to solve that issues or those issues. Stani, can you also share with us what touched you the most? What is maybe the information that you also heard for the first time during this forum?
Yes, so for me personally, there were very, very much new information, and which I found the most interesting is all the new technology which we could have in a creative society. And the thing which struck me the most, I mean, it's not really a topic which was shown in the conference, but it is a very impressive feat for me, is how the creative society itself is such a great platform to unite everyone on this earth, and how we still have a chance, or so many people with such a big heart are participating in such great events and making this even possible. So without all the energy and the willpower of our creative society, we wouldn't even be able to show all these people these wonderful information. So this is what really touched me the most, and was also a reason why I joined in the first place. And I have the feeling there is like no other comparison to this, and I'm very proud to take part in it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your comments, and we are pleased, of course, to have you into this international discussion. We wanted to start this discussion actually to going back to this forum to see an extract of this forum on a specific topic that we wanted to raise a little bit more in depth into this international discussion. This forum has been voicing a lot of information about the current state of the earth, either regarding climate crisis, either regarding ecology, the consumer format of society also, and the answer, the creative society. So when we think about a creative society as an answer, it's really the bright future that we have in front of us. And currently we can see that there is some organization currently here that we might think are going towards that creative society. They are here to help people. Charity funds. Thinking about those organizations, we might think that they are here really to help, to solve so many different problem, helping people. But the forum and the information that has been raised during the forum about charity funds help us to understand that it might be just a facade, that the core of those organizations is maybe not as focused on the person, on the human, like it should be into the creative society, but much more related to money. Money, which is the driver, the main energy of the consumer format of society. So let's watch again this video regarding charity funds to really understand on what format of society those organizations are and how they really organize themselves and operate.
Perhaps you may think it will never happen to you. While those people have been given all the help they needed and they are now safe. And indeed, there is now a huge number of organizations and foundations dedicated to helping people. The largest of them, the United Nations, is positioning itself as the guarantor of peace and security of humankind. For decades, we have been hearing beautiful slogans and promises from high rostrums. If you listen to these loud statements, it may seem that we will solve all our problems. There will be no more poverty, no more hunger, no more wars, and we will all live well. After all, there are over 100 international organizations working under the aegis of the United Nations to solve the world's problems. For every new problem, a new organization is created. Every year, UN member states pay huge contributions to these organizations. In fact, this is money from our pockets. These are the taxes we pay to the state. Between 2010 and 2020, according to official data, the 44 UN organizations alone raised $540.4 billion. contributions to the UN organizations have increased by 58% over 10 years. But let's take a look at what we have achieved over this period of time. The largest amount of money today goes to solving the problem of hunger. The main UN organizations to tackle this problem are the World Food Program, WFP, and the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. They have raised $79.8 billion over the last 10 years. Current estimates are that almost 690 million people are hungry in the world and 750 million people are severely food insecure. The Food and Agriculture Organization itself predicts an even greater increase in hunger by 2030, 841 million people. So, the World Food Program is projecting funding needs for 2022 already at $13.9 billion. So they say, there will be more hungry people, so they need more money. It is a legitimate question. How is it that, with ever-increasing funding, the problem itself is only becoming worse? Let's look at another problem, the refugee problem. The number of refugees has doubled over the past 10 years, comprising 82.4 million in 2020. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, deals with refugee issues. Over the past 10 years, funding for the organization has increased by 56%, reaching $4.8 billion in 2020. Let's look at what kind of help they provide to people. One area of refugee assistance is shelter. On their website, they state, "The main part of our protection mission is to guarantee access to proper shelter in humanitarian emergencies. We provide tents, distribute plastic sheeting, and develop strategies, tools, and guidance in emergency situations, and provide emergency assistance to those who need it most. On cold nights or hot days, our help can be the deciding factor between life and death. In an emergency, tarpaulin tents are an adequate short-term measure, but people live in such tent camps for years in inhumane conditions with no hope of the future. Due to the lack of even basic sanitation conditions, people die of infectious diseases. Who benefits from the problem not being solved? As long as there is a problem, there is funding. And if the problem is solved, there will be no funding and therefore no organizations. As long as there is a financial interest, as long as someone makes money from it, no one will solve the problem. The UN itself is very much like a transnational corporation in its structure. There is a parent company that coordinates and manages the activities of its other companies, but each brand is a separate business entity. In 2020, more than $3.7 billion was spent to maintain the UN bureaucracy on staff and director salaries, health insurance, holidays, business class flights, and other expenses. The planned expenditures for the renovation of the Palace of Nations alone in Switzerland, where the UN headquarters is located, is $871 million. With this money, 174,000 houses could be built using 3D printing technology. How many refugee families could benefit from this housing? But alas, building homes for those in need is not a priority for their aid. What do we have in the end? Numerous organizations that we have entrusted with the responsibility of solving serious problems of humanity turn out, on closer examination, to be merely business structures. It becomes obvious that there is a direct interest in the growth and aggravation of problems. In other words, it is beneficial for someone that people starve, struggle to survive, and make wars with each other. And that is the cynicism of the consumerist format of society, Creating the illusion of solving a problem without the real goal of eradicating it is a principle of the consumerist format. Under such conditions, it is tantamount to anesthesia for a fatal illness. And even closing or reforming some organizations or firing some individuals will not save the situation, because new ones will come in their place and do the same thing, making money off our lives. Today, because of our tacit support for the consumerist format, we are all on the precipice. The rapid escalation of all crises will soon bring us all, without exception, to the brink of disaster. What kind of help will we get? A piece of tarpaulin for shelter and a couple of bottles of water?
This video really is showing like how everything is being done in our consumer format of society. And I would like to ask a question to Namubiru. Could you please share, comment on this video and share your insight about the absurdity of the consumer format in which we are living?
I thank you once again. It is always very devastating watching people in high places taking advantage of humans who are going through tough calamities. When I watched this video, it took me back to something which has been puzzling me so much. I was watching the video and the funding for this organization is going to go up by 13.9 billion US dollars. Do you know what that means? That is taxpayers' money. That is inflation. But if we cannot even use the technology at hand right now to build these 3D printing houses for refugees, if we cannot stop holding food back, because when you look at malnutrition is becoming an international crisis. After malnutrition, you will get hunger. The question is, are humans given this information that we are headed for famine? Is this information reaching people? I'm very sure whoever is making this a business so that people can be displaced, food can be held, because you cannot convince me that food is not being held. Someone is withholding food. There are so many food embargoes in the world right now. And right now we have 2 to 3 major issues in the world. Number one, topping everything, conflict, war. And don't be surprised that that is what gets the highest budget. All the countries top their armories, the budgets, they're always high. When I look at how many people go starving after conflict, we have hunger. But the funny thing about these two things, they go together, they are intertwined. Let's first ask ourselves, what is causing hunger? Displacement, conflict, which is causing food embargoes. When I look at, I'm from Africa. I know Haiti is going through hunger. It was there. Yemen is going through hunger. For Haiti's case, it was because of natural disasters. But for Yemen and Syria, it is war. Sudan, in South Sudan, they're going through hunger. But how long has there been conflict in Sudan? And these humanitarian organizations have always been there. And as I've heard, heartbreakingly, the budget is still going up. If it is not a money-making business, I will ask everyone to ask themselves this question. I am from Africa. Africa is regarded as the poorest continent. But what I know for the truth, Africa is not a poor continent, because what I noticed during these wars, there's a lot of looting of minerals. I'll give you countries like Democratic Republic of Congo. They've been going through conflict in conflict, which is bringing hunger and displacement to people. You cannot farm when you are under war. You cannot plant food because you're always on the run. But these humanitarian organizations are in these war-torn areas. But the funny thing is this: they are giving them aid and they are also supplying weapons. Isn't that a money-making business? That seems like a money-making business. I'll tell you an example. Right now we are having hunger topping the list, that very soon the world might be headed for famine like never heard of before. But the most recent example is the war in Ukraine. There's a lot of food stuck in Ukraine that cannot go out right now because of the war. And there are so many embargoes everywhere, including food embargoes. So I would like to ask a question. If we're saying that these humanitarian organizations really want this problem solved and they're not making money off it, how is it that these budgets are going up and the hunger rates globally are increasing and the funding for this aid is also increasing? Where is the accountability for this money? Countries like in Africa, there's Somalia, they are in hunger. Niger has hunger. Kenya, right now, some of the parts of the country are starving, there's starvation. The countries, they are endless. If we are looking at 841 million people increasing in hunger, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do. The consumerist format is not helping. It is not helping because it's a money-making format. That's why I believe that the creative society, which focuses on the socio-ecological model, which goes down to the last person and spreads this information from an individual level to a community level and a society level. When I was watching this conference, there's a part where they say, help comes from ordinary people. Are these organizations involving the ordinary people? Or there's just a strategy where people are just fed from hand to mouth? That cannot solve the problem of hunger. Take a look at United States, for example. When I was looking at them recently, I realized they have the highest rate globally of food wastage. Food wastage, like food discarded in the farm, in the restaurants, in households. But surprisingly, they are the leading exporters of food as well. However, the same country is still having some parts which have food crisis. How do you explain that? Some answers are right before us, but we just choose to ignore them. What are we funding? That is the question. Because whether you like it or not, you and I are funding. If you buy anything that has a tax, no matter how slight it is, trust me, you're funding. That tax is buying weapons, destroying humanity. That tax is making a money-making business for someone at the expense of human lives. This cannot go on anymore. The fact that information has been held for so long, right now humans are just living a happy life, not knowing what we are headed for. Hunger is real and hunger is coming. Who is holding food from the people? Have you thought about a possibility of someone deliberately causing war so that food will not go out there to people? So that you will in turn fund the project of humanitarian aid, and then that one person will be the one distributing food. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but there's a lot of bureaucracy in how these matters are being handled. We cannot take it lightly anymore, because very soon it will be before our faces. When you see how many more countries are having malnourishment, it is crazy. And these budgets are there. They keep going up and going up and going up. Before you know it, conflict is also piling up. Inflation is also piling up. The human race is experiencing a lot of crazy things happening right now. Take a look, I think from 2020 to date, we have been challenged. Ever since the pandemic came, we have found out, I've never seen so much misinformation like I have seen in these 2-3 years. The mask of misinformation fell off. You can agree with me that there's a lot of misinformation out there, which is showing you that we have so many possibilities of saving ourselves if information can go out there to ordinary people, like through the creative society, and we can make this world a better place. But what I'm saying right now is human turning against humans, and the dependency, which is rotational, which is also just causing more problems than good, if you ask me. Because if the entire world will wait for one organization to distribute food, that is not right. There must be another way where people in their communities can help themselves handle these global catastrophes. And thanks to the creative society, through the We Are People We Want to Live international conference, this information is coming out and the lies are being exposed. It is my prayer, however, that humans will take this information as serious as possible, because this might be our last chance to save humanity and the human race. I will tell you this. Every one of us has a role to play in saving the planet. If all our money is going into weapons, ask yourself, why do we have a lot of hunger? When you look at most of these countries who are going through hunger, these countries where people are going through hunger, do you know that there's a lot of insecurities? Right now, globally, security is complex. You will agree with me, security is complex. So if there is insecurity everywhere, how do you expect there to be food? It cannot be there. And it starts with us to wake up, to realize and change for the better and do things for the good of humanity, for the higher good. That is why I encourage everyone, join the creative society. Be the creative society where you are. Spread this information. Do something about it. Do not wait for aid, because aid will not come. We have seen it. Yeah, when we were told to go and sleep in our houses and stay indoors, did you see aid coming?
That's really true. And thank you so much that it's really true that we can't wait anymore. Because as you are saying, if billions of people are waiting for one small group to decide how to distribute food and manage our lives, it's kind of paradox. And it's really time for us to take this real responsibility for our own life. It's about our life and life of our children. And this information is so vital for every person to understand what is really happening. And the most important, that today we have possibility to take our life responsibility for it in our hand. So thank you so much for deep review of this question. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And then let's moving on also to Stani, to ask a bit of the same question and understanding what is your view regarding the absurdity of the situation in which we are in this consumer format of society. Namubiru explaining very well this absurdity, and it's actually nothing is absurd, nothing is random, everything is very well planned for a purpose that is not helping human, it's making money. So can you tell us a little bit more about how do you see it?
Yes, thank you. So for me personally, it has just proven, which I already found out very, very early, that money and money-making business is the most important right now. So money has always a higher value than human life. And if you think about it, you automatically realize that this is a thing which is really absurd, like you just said. Even the helping organizations are just a facade, which are not really battling the core of the problems. So there are so many people with a big heart thinking, if I'm going to donate some money to some organizations, I'm like helping to better the world. But in fact, as we just saw, it's also just part of the business. And I also face it a lot that people, especially in my country, Germany, they often say, okay, that's not that doesn't concern me. It's so far away in different countries, and as long as I have a happy and healthy life, like everything is okay. But how can we still ignore all these vital problems which are occurring already for I don't know how many years, and they are always getting worse and worse and worse. And these organizations should be like the solution, but in fact we see it's still getting worse and worse. And the answer is also very clear to me. It's because of money. So why are we not already implementing new technologies which could save dozens of people's life? And it's every day people are suffering and they don't need the help in a couple of years. They need it right now. So if we could spend the money and in different ways, I mean, just like war and supplying weapons and all these amounts, huge amounts which are spent there, could be used in buying or implementing technology already way faster. So they are not doing it because it's too expensive. It's too expensive to save people's lives. And a lot of people are feeling too safe sometimes and are thinking those global crises and catastrophes will never hit them in their home and their children. And that's why they are closing their eyes and just ignoring it. It's not like they don't know the issue, but they just want to close their eyes so they don't have to think every day about the world problems and the world pain. And since I have found the creative society, I must admit I was also one of the types who was thinking like, how can I change the world? I'm just like a small person. There's no impact I could have in creating a better world. But since I have found the creative society, and this is which I can, I'm really proud of, that I found a way to implement even my small strengths to something really big. And you don't have to be a lawyer or something. The creative society is for everyone. And this is the chance for everyone to do something better and to stop closing their eyes, because the problems will always only getting worse and worse. And as long as we live in this consumerism format and money will always be on the first place, the problems will always only grow. And the other thing is that the issues are not also really transparent and shown to the people. So a lot of people also don't have any clue how bad it actually is right now in the world. And that's why we need the creative society to show that small people, without any budget, without getting paid, without signing a contract or whatever, just from the bottom of our heart, are managing to give out this information to so many people. And it's not like we do it for money or something. It's just everyone is concerned about our future. And why should I accept money if I'm just fighting for a better future for me, myself, and everyone on this planet? So yeah, I think that's what I was thinking when I saw the clip.
Thank you very much, Stani, for your answer, and really emphasizing on the idea that yes, indeed, there is some people, they still don't see this picture. They still don't see the problem or the full picture that what is happening on this planet to some of the population. I wanted to actually summarize and combine two of your answers, because I think there is something that we really need to re-emphasize also a lot. Namubiru, you mentioned the idea that there is a lot of conflict, man-made conflict, that are currently happening in so many different countries, where indeed the money is really the driver, and one conflict would be generated to hold on something to create another problem in another country. It's simply for people and taxpayer like us to increase the fundings, which is the ultimate illustration what is the consumer formula of society. And another side, Stani, you really mentioned that in this situation, there is still some people not even seeing it, and that only now we have kind of some information raising that information for hopefully as many people to see it. What I want to get to is that those conflicts that we've been talking about are man-made conflict. But what we need to realize is that there is a conflict, a war in which we are already, which is against the climate. And this one is not a war that we can affect by using money. Climate doesn't take any money, doesn't rest, doesn't negotiate for peace. It's just going on, and it's continuously, and it's increasing. You mentioned Haiti being a catastrophe with a lot of problem and still recurrent problem out of a natural disaster. Those natural disasters are increasingly happening, but on the side of it, we are continuously doing wars. We are just not understanding that we are in a car and we are facing a wall, but instead of braking, we're actually accelerating towards that wall. That's exactly what's happening to this situation. So I think it's very important what you've mentioned, both of you, this idea of putting the human in first place, and making sure that everybody understands it, so we can all unite and go into the right direction to erase all of man-made conflict out of the earth and take care of the very important conflict that we are already on against the climate. So thank you very much once again to emphasizing those points, because it's very important that it's clear for viewers what is ahead of us and what should we do as of now.
That's really true, that today we as humanity are facing climate disasters, and we can find solution only when we unite the whole scientific potential of whole humanity and develop technologies which will help us. But let's also have a look at those technologies which we already have. And as was mentioned today, we have technologies, but unfortunately they're not being used. So let's see what already humanity can implement today if we decide to have a creative society.
Every night, 811 million people go to bed hungry, and already 38 countries are on the brink of starvation. We live In times of instability, pandemics, economic crises, climate disasters, military conflicts, they put millions more people on the brink of starvation. Are you sure you won't be among them? In the consumerist format, no one is secure against starvation these days. But it is such an absurdity. Why? Let's take a look at the technology that already exists. One of them is vertical farms. They have great advantages compared to conventional farms. They produce 300 times more food and up to 30 yields a year. They consume 95% less water and 80% less soil. They make it possible to grow various crops all year round without using pesticides. They don't depend on weather or location and require minimal logistics costs. Harvesting is possible even in Antarctica. Aquaponics. It allows simultaneous breeding of fish and cultivation of vegetables in a single closed cycle. Fish waste fertilizes plants, speeding up their growth by 40%. It is environmentally friendly and can operate in a virtually waste-free way without polluting water bodies. It doesn't involve pesticides and consumes 10 times less water. Yields from 1,000 square meters of land by this method equal to yields from 2 hectares of fields and 20 hectares of ponds. It can be applied in the tropics or an arid desert, and even on the roof of a skyscraper. Humanity has already learned to print food on a 3D printer and to grow fish and chicken meat from cells. Even food made of air is no longer science fiction. A Finnish company is building a factory to produce flour from air and has won the first stage in a competition to provide food for space missions to other planets. We have shown only a few examples of technology, but even they can already resolve the problem of hunger once and for all. Development and introduction of such technologies in the infrastructure of cities will provide people with food everywhere, regardless of crises and disasters. It will make the process of growing food products independent of climate, weather, location, soil fertility, or even logistics. In consumer society, hunger is a prospect for everyone. In the creative society, not a single person in any country of the world will go to bed hungry. It will be up to us, people, to jointly decide which scientific discoveries to implement first, while openness and transparency of information in the creative society will make it possible to ensure reliable control over implementation of our decisions. We really want to live in the creative society. And what about you?
This video really continued the idea of absurdity that there is a problem, a man-made problem, that we already have the solution, but this solution is not implemented, even though we saw how much money is founded into those organizations to supposedly fix the problem. So I wanted to turn myself to our guest again, Namubiru. What is, from your experience, how will be the impact of life of people in a creative society when all of the resources and technologies are available for everyone, like we saw in this video, for example?
Thank you so much, Jonathan. My heart breaks when I see the beginning of the video, when I can count all the bones of the starving people in this video. But then again, my heart jumps with joy when I see the vertical farming at the end. So this is what I'm talking about right here. In the creative society, we don't glorify the problems. We amplify the solution. If we can embrace vertical farming globally, trust me, we can jointly and effortlessly, cheaply eradicate the forthcoming famine that has never been heard of in the human race. But you see, a small group of global thinkers will have nothing else to do when the world is at peace and calm. However, it is not too late to pick up ourselves, help ourselves individually without waiting for a small group of decision makers globally to influence our life, which is of the greatest value, that you get once and you lose once and that's it. It would be so amazing if we had vertical farming. Hunger will go, malnutrition will go, and there will be a lot. You know, when I was watching a video, there was a part where, I don't know, was it Switzerland? There was a country where they had to choose between rent or food. Come on, these two things are all important. If you have food and you don't have where to sleep, there's still a problem. So these are some of the things that will they'll become history in the creative society, because we see the problem and we emphasize on the solution. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Namubiru. And you know, for me, your words like that, really, in consumers format of society, it's kind of, we have technology, but we can't implement because some people will lose their job or will lose their profession, and they will not be able to survive in consumer format. So again, absurdity is happening. But at the same time, it's showing that those steps which we already take towards building the creative society, which is informing every person, connecting specialists, it's helping us to understand how slowly, gradually to implement these changes, so that really all people stay only in benefit. We cannot make some, sharp change. We cannot wait for one person to come and say, okay, let's implement something, because it can harm millions of people. But when we all connect and when we all work together, how to implement this, how to implement the best technologies and possibilities, then we will be sure that we only will grow, no one will lose in this situation, and gradually we will move towards creative format of society. So this is really awesome, and thank you so much for as specialist and as human for participating in such discussions. Thank you. And I would like to ask the question to Stanislaw. Could you please share how you see the benefits for every person in the creative society, and how really, why it's beneficial for everyone?
Yes, thank you for the question. So my opinion is that you can't change the system within the system. So we have to create a whole new system. And this new system is called the creative society. And in my head, it's also not a revolution, it's an evolution. It's something the people on Earth right now can't even imagine that it would even work. I often hear that they say it's an utopia, the way we are thinking and we imagine the world and the creative society. But the 8 foundations, which everyone can read on our homepage, are not so far-fetched. It's just that, in my opinion, the people have lost the hope of creating a better world, and they say it's all pointless and it's wasted time and it will definitely not work. But the small people like me and the people are watching maybe, or every volunteer in the creative society are the proof that if we combine our strength and our willpower and our goodwill energy, or however you want to call it, or just having a heart and being a human, is so powerful that we won't be able to stop. So the creative society will benefit everyone, and it's a thing the people have to grasp in the first place. They have to accept that it's gonna be different than now. They are already have already gotten used to this world we live right now, the consumerism format, for way too long, so they can't even imagine that there can be a world where we are all united. I mean, the problems in this world right now, they will never stop. I mean, it's countless how many problems there are already going on right now. The list is never ending. So how do you want to battle this list with countless problems within the system where money has the highest value and not rescuing and saving human lives? So in my opinion, there is really no other way. And before I met the Creative Society, I was also a bit this type of person who had this thoughts like, okay, then we are all going down together, the world is going down, okay, that's it, so we all will die. And the Creative Society has shown me like this there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I haven't believed this myself before I met the Creative Society, but watching the conferences and then also joining the Creative Society and participating and meeting wonderful new people all over the world like now and talking about it has given me like a new purpose in life. And it has also given me the strength I have lost, created by this consumerism format, thinking this is all for nothing when I would join like an organization in this and that. And I was always a type of person who wanted that everyone on this earth has a good life, and not only my country or neighbor countries. Everyone on this planet is the same and deserves the same opportunities. And how can we achieve that in this type of format? I mean, the last years have already proven that it will never happen. The people just accept the world how it was for the last 10, 20 years and are living their lives like nothing can be changed. So I hope, and I just want to tell the viewers to think about it more deeply and inform yourself about the Creative Society. I was also skeptic in the first place, and it's always good to be skeptic. Like, you don't always have to trust everything you hear in the first place. Just inform yourself and maybe write an email or search the contacts with us, and I'm very sure that we can achieve it, and then the world will change.
Thank you very much for your comment, Stani. I really like, I mean, there is a lot of benefits of the Creative Society. We have been talking about them in other international discussions. We talk about it today, but the one that we have even before the Creative Society is created, even before all of this future is in place, as you very well mentioned, is that inner fire and motivation to understand and to believe and to be completely dedicated into this idea that there is a hope. And you don't have to just think that, it's going to be an end and everybody will disappear. I'm part of it. I'm not going to miss out anything. So why should I try to do this thing? Let's just enjoy the moment as much as I can, because I'm not impacted by all of those problems. As soon as people can get away from that idea and simple idea from the consumer format of society, as you mentioned, and shift to a bright future that they can imagine and actually build, that's really the first benefits of the Creative Society, and it's not even there yet. So thank you very much for that idea. I think it's very inspiring for a lot of people that might have seen the forum, might have understood the information, but yet not fully confident or fully understanding how can they act. And it's very important that we can share that inspiration to them. So thank you very much for that information, for that answer. Thank you very much, both of you, for your answers today for this international discussion. And I would like to actually continue on this idea of of participating to this international discussion and to other international discussions. So I would like to talk to our viewers now. And if you like the discussion that you've seen, if you learned something, from the forum, and you would like to share this information, that you want to feel like a true hero, not because of your own ego, but because we can be heroes of this civilization. We can be heroes on striving all together to unite and make that civilization what it should be. You can do that. You can either go on our website and get all of the content that you can, as Stani mentioned. You can be skeptical and you can look for your own eyes what we, the Creative Society, is doing right now. You can also send an email to info@creativesociety.com, ask any of your questions, and also ask to be part of this international discussion if you would like to share what we've been sharing today. We should not be silenced, not today, not now. We need to voice this truth that we've heard during the forum, and we need to make sure that truth is going to every single person on earth.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and thank you so much, dear guests. And I just would like to ask, maybe you want to add something more to your message for the viewers. Namubiru, maybe you would like to add something more, like a message.
Thank you so much, my dear. My message is, I want to explain what creative society is. Stan said something that some think it's utopia, but I'll tell you what I've come to discover in life. We never thought a restaurant could be built in the sky or in the space, but if that is possible, then how do you convince me that humans cannot save themselves in one planet without going to another? What do you think creative society is? It is not far-fetched. It is not something more than you can fathom. It is not something beyond human comprehension. Creative society is love reborn. Creative society is hope restored. Creative society is peace affirmed. This is creative society which accommodates everyone, all those who have been underestimated. Creative society, I look at creative society like a honeycomb. You know, when there's a honeycomb, there must be bees. So the honeycomb is our planet, we as humans. And the bees are we, the human. We have all gone our way. And we have left the safety of the honeycomb in the hands of 2 or 3 decision makers globally. That is wrong. So creative society comes and unites back all the bees to the honeycomb so that we can take back charge of our tomorrow for our children, for our children's children, and that we can leave a remarkable milestone behind when we move on to another world. So I invite you once again, don't you ever think that there's nothing you can do. Everyone was created for a purpose. I know there's so many people out there who are supposed to be part of the creative society, but they are having doubts. They do not know whether this is their true calling. Yes, I want to speak to that person today. If you're that kind of person and you're watching this video, come home. Let us use our ordinary human powers to make super incredible changes for this planet. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for these words. And it's true that today, every person is so valuable. Dear friends, today we came to this time when we are deciding how we want to live, how we want to see the world for us and our children. The world where we are taking decisions and taking charge of our life. And as it was mentioned today, we can do it only together, because in such a way we're helping each other, we're ensuring that our life will only prosper. So thank you so much, our dear speakers. Thank you everyone who is watching this broadcast. Join the Creative Society because this defines how will be your and my tomorrow. Thank you so much.